So this is Halva Cove. It's always been a very special place for me, not just because of the surroundings, but the community of people that are here. They've been supportive throughout this whole process. My family, obviously my immediate family, like my wife, she's my wall of strength for sure. I mean, she's always there and she's always supportive. And, you know, my kids are a driving force in why I want to keep fighting and be around. And there's been times when it's been pretty bleak that if it wasn't for them, maybe I wouldn't have kept fighting. I trained as a family practice physician and I work as a hospitalist, and that's what I do, or that's what I did, until March of 2013 when I suddenly started feeling a little sicker. So I went ahead and got my own labs, and lo and behold, my platelets were ridiculously low. And when my oncology friends said, hey, let's get a bone marrow biopsy, I sat at home kind of typing in, looking stuff up about leukemias, and about 10 minutes later the phone rings and my friend is like, hey, you at home? Yeah. You want to sit down? He's like, you got acute myelogenous leukemia. And that night I was on a plane to Seattle to start my induction chemotherapy and my journey with cancer. So we kind of started doing the Caring Bridge a day or two after we got to Seattle to just inform everybody of what was going on. The thing that really came to the forefront when I got this diagnosis and knowing that prognosis was, you think about so often, like, what's your first memory in life? When you're 2 and 3, you don't really remember anything. And I had a 2-year-old at the time, and I was pretty convinced that he's never going to know his dad. Each one of us has a different spark or drive that I can't put my finger on, and that you have to trigger that and you have to use that. Someday when you're doing better, you can sit down and say, look at this, look, this is what we went through, and this is what I did, and this is why your dad has so much more strength in life. But there's lots of reasons I went to be a physician. Being with people that are sick and being able to help guide them through that process, it's a powerful thing. Having that interaction and being in that moment of, you know, despair as well as a moment of getting better was such a powerful thing that I loved it. I miss it tremendously now that I'm not working all the time. The one thing that I would change after being in this situation is a little bit more, maybe taking the edge off of the prognoses and focus a little bit more on that hope. So when I get back to medicine, I'm definitely going to encourage people to try to build that support system that they have. You can have this online support. You can find people who have dealt with what you're dealing with. I think that there's a lot of ways that we can continue to make our patient population a more involved and more educated population, and that should be the goal.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Matthew Dudley, DO at the Alaska Hospitalist Group.
So compressing 18 months of writing about my ongoing battle with leukemia and 14 years of medical experience into 5 minutes proved extremely difficult. So please stop me afterwards and ask me questions. But this is a little bit of how I think. In your most vulnerable moment, what is it that you want people to remember? Every day we face small challenges, but occasionally we find ourselves buried under an avalanche of burden. When you find yourself under that crushing weight of life or illness, what will be your response? Do you simply just lie there and suffocate, or do you try and dig yourself out? Participation in healthcare is similar to the scene of an avalanche. Buried underneath the information, the carnage, the devastation of disease is a patient who needs help. As healthcare providers, we are the rescue team. Da-da-da-da-da-da! We're there to save the day. Yet we must remember that underneath is a person with a story of how they got there and dreams of further days. And so we start to probe, to locate, to start the dig to help their story continue. As a patient, you can freak out or struggle, waste energy, or you can stay calm, take a deep breath. The choice is yours. So check your pulse, but realize that you won't do it alone. A team effort, both above and below, is necessary. Under my avalanche diagnosis, I take that back. Under my avalanche diagnosis, I thought of all the stories of my life, and I wanted to share them. Via social media, my support grew larger than I ever imagined. Yes, I am alive because an anonymous donor joined my dig and gave me her stem cells. But I'm on this stage because a childhood friend of my wife, 3,000 miles away from where I live, whom I barely know, told a client about my Caring Bridge site, and she chose to read. Those helping dig me out became more robust and precise than an excavator run by a neurosurgeon. But simply put, nobody felt my pain. A patient's pain is individual. Yet we all collectively suffer together when we know the story. We can help carry the burden of an illness if we are encouraged to do so. My stem cell donor was encouraged to participate, and she did. I encouraged others to share my burden, and they did. In turn, they, my medical team, my family, my cyber spot support, willed me to keep my head up and my heart strong. But the dig continues. I'm not free. I can breathe again, but I know that death is inevitable and that somewhere out there is an avalanche that I won't escape. But until then, I continue to tell my stories, enjoy my life, and enjoy the views. I write my stories now and my thoughts now so that those who helped me dig this far know that I am alive because of that caring and support. In healthcare and medicine, we have a choice to encourage others and participate, or to be passive. In this age of social media, we have a resource which is greater than any weight that is thrust upon us. We can find information. We can find others and with similar struggles. We can connect. We can tell our stories, and we can live our lives if we choose. As healthcare providers, we often clump people together so that we can provide prognoses or direct care. Yet we must remember that each patient is an N of one, and that many people suffer with them. We will all find ourselves buried someday. And so I encourage you, whether or not you're digging or buried, remember the story, for it will help you do more than you ever thought imaginable, either above or below. Head up, heart strong. We need a cure. Thank you.